go live. I think that's... Hello. Welcome to Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited about this week's show. We are going to start with a few big issues, Kentucky political news coming out of Frankfort, big issues confronting the voters next month. Then we're going to be really, really pleased to be joined by Erika Hancock, who is running for the 57th House District, working to replace the retiring Derrick Graham. Then excited to bring you Dr. Almaria Baker, who's working to flip the 28th district in Louisville. Really important potential pickup for us. And then finally, we will wrap up with an absolutely urgent call to action. But before we get into that, I want to make sure you're ready to help turn Kentucky purple. Obviously, folks, we are thrilled you're here. We hope you agree with us that Kentucky deserves better than Mitch McConnell, than Jamie Comer, than Big Bank's Andy Barr, and of course that GOP supermajorities in the General Assembly, which block our governor time and time again from moving our state forward. Despite the challenges facing Kentucky, we've had some, I think, pretty impressive highlights. We rejected Amendment 2 to keep abortion protections in our state constitution. We reelected Andy. We absolutely can get things done in our state, but it's clear there's lots of work to do. We want to win better electoral outcomes across our Commonwealth. Unless, of course, you want your tax dollars siphoned away from public schools and sent to unaccountable private schools, or just kicked back to rich folks. Between now and November 5th, 20 short days away, we're going to be working for better electoral outcomes in Kentucky, and we hope you'll support Progress Kentucky in our campaign for a more compassionate Commonwealth. Please consider making a contribution right now via our secure online website. If you are like a lot of the Kernels of Truth, if you're kind of like nervous and anxious and a little freaked out about this election, the best thing for you to do is to do something, right? Take that energy. Don't look at another poll. That's not going to help you. Take that energy and put it somewhere. Put it into resources you send to us, to Act Blue, to help turn Kentucky purple. $5, $50, $500, whatever it takes to make you feel better about the next 20 days. We'll take it and we'll put it to work right now, helping spread smart messaging around important issues that are going to be on the ballot in just 20 days. 20 days, people. All right. Now it's time to check in on our co-host. Let us know who you are, where you are, what are you protesting today? You there watching on the internet, live on Facebook or YouTube. We mean you as well. I'd love to hear what you're protesting. And then you can put it in the chat while we're sharing ours. I'm Aaron. I'm coming to you from Childsburg, a fine place to live. Lots of deed restrictions in our community. Lots of vinyl siding. My sign says, lying about schools is a special kind of horrible. Vote no on 2. That's me. All right, but I got some co-hosts here. Let's check in with them. Nate, are you there?
Yeah, the question really is, am I unmuted? Hey, folks, it's Nate Orshane here, coming live and direct from South Frankfort in beautiful central Kentucky. And this week, my sign would be, what would Governor Andy do? So, those bracelets people wear sometimes, what would Jesus do? I'm not trying to compare our governor to that, but that's sort of as far as, yeah, really. And here come the death threats. No, but that's kind of like, if you're thinking about public policy or how to treat an opponent, or what is the best thing to do at any given moment as far as like government spending and government regulations, what would Governor Andy do, and how would he try to get the legislature to vote. That's
Nice.
a good thing. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. And I hope the right-wing conservatives, like, look, they gave it on the show long ago. I'm sure they're not watching, but anyone who would be offended by you likening Andy to the Jesus. All right, Kimberly Cecil Jones, are you here? Are you with us? You are muted. Just so we know, somebody's got to do it.
Okay, that's like my favorite thing to do, and to be on mute. And I just like to hear your voice say, "You're on mute," So,
is it an episode of Kernels of Truth if we haven't asked Kimberly if she's muted?
Yes, because remember, it was Chris that time, and I was like, "Oh, goody gumdrop! It's not me this week; it's him." So anyway, is my camera okay? Because I look like I'm moving slow, like a robot or something.
It's a little problematic, but people don't come here for the visuals. I think so we hear you fine.
I'm one of Elon Musk's new robots that he just premiered a couple of weeks ago. But I am Kimberly Cecil Jones, and I'm coming to you live from Jefferson County. And piggybacking on Mr. Nate Orshan, I have a T-shirt on today. You maybe can't see it. It has Shirley Chisholm on here, and it says WWSD. What would Shirley Chisholm do?
Yeah.
But actually, what my sign would say today, let's remember our troops. Things are very much happening. They've already sent soldiers from Fort Campbell over to the Middle East. So many of our servicemen and women of all branches, except for Space Force, they don't actually do battle. They do it in the galaxy. Okay. So just want to say, just remember our troops with the election going on, everything that's going on in Kentucky. There are major things going on elsewhere, and a lot of our Kentuckians are going to be steadily going to the Middle East. So let's just remember our troops. Pray for our troops. Good thoughts to our troops.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I got this necklace that my daughter sent me. Can you see it? It has like a airplane on it. Can you see it?
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
And it says on here, "Proud Air Force Mom."
Oh,
that is very very sweet.
That would be you.
Yeah. She's she's serving our country. She's making you proud. She's doing it all, really. So impressive. All right, so we should get into news of the week. We've got a couple stories we want to cover, and then we got a couple of guests to get to, so we need to hustle along. I think the first story comes to us from Kim. What do you got for us?
Yes, I'm so ecstatic to bring you this story tonight about right to life being left behind. You may think this is a bad thing, but it could be a little bit of a good thing. So we've got a very intriguing story right now brought to us by the Kentucky Lantern. We love them, about the fallout of the clear pro-choice will of Kentucky voters. Actually, in how the GOP is responding, dividing the Kentucky GOP from their longtime besties with Kentucky Right to Life. The extremist group is a longtime partner with the Kentucky GOP and endorsed nearly 90. I'm going to turn this camera off just for a second. Okay. And with nearly 90 candidates just 3 House cycles back, in 2020, they endorsed 88 candidates. In 2022, they endorsed 86. But this particular cycle, in 2024, it was nearly cut in half, with the group only endorsing 45 Kentucky Republicans. The primary reason for this, you guys, is that Being that 50 candidates refused to respond to the group, it is also highlighting to us a growing group of Republicans who are unwilling to engage publicly with the toxic movement. From the article, we've got a great quote from the friend of the show, Planned Parenthood's Tamara Wielder. Is it Wilder or Wielder? Aaron?
Tamara, Tamara Weeder.
Weeder. I knew it was something. I knew it was something. Okay, so she's been a longtime friend of ours here on Kernels of Truth, and she's also an incredible indictment on the brand and on the movement of Planned Parenthood. And what this shows us is that they have become too extreme, even for their followers. They are out of step with Kentuckians, and also, she said that I think it also shows the legislature is afraid of putting their name on anti-abortion policies. So further for the lantern this year, about 50 Republican candidates, they actually on their own declined to answer the survey for the Kentucky Right to Life, according to the endorsement report. Right to Life endorsed 45 legislative candidates right here in Frankfort and recommended others based on their voting history. All 100 House seats and half of the 38 Senate seats are on the ballot every 2 years, in case you all didn't know that. Although endorsed by Right to Life at times in the past, the top Republicans in both the chamber of the legislature are not endorsed this year. Among those listed as declining to answer the group's questions is Senate President Robert Stivers, House Speaker David Osborne, Senate President Pro Temp David Givens, and Speaker Pro Temp David Meade. Other prominent Republicans listed as declining to respond are House Majority Floor Leader Stephen Rudy and Senate Budget Committee Chairman Chris McDaniel. All of them were still recommended by Right to Life based on their voting records. A Senate GOP spokesperson said Stivers and Givens agree that their voting record speaks for itself. No Democrat answered the Right to Life survey this year, and none, of course, were endorsed. We're kind of happy about that, right? So personally, it's clear after the fall of Roe and Kentucky voters, they have rejected a constitutional abortion ban. The GOP is very much aware that they're on the losing side of this issue, and certain Republican lawmakers, especially the few in tight races at this point, would prefer to confuse voters about the party's continuing opposition to any and all abortion health care. And they like to pretend that they don't take their marching orders from Kentucky Right to Life. I also want to put another little sentence on here as well. And I just want to say that is simply this. Kentuckians do not want a ban, a constitutional ban on abortion. So when is it that the majority Republicans in Frankfort are going to start listening to the people of Kentucky? Back to you, Aaron.
Yeah, that's, I think that's the question. Like, when are they going to listen, right? So they ignored the voters when we very clearly said, rejecting Amendment 2, as I call it, the classic Amendment 2, which was the effort to, put a constitutional ban on abortion in Kentucky. We said, no, we would like a constitutional protection for abortion in the Commonwealth. Dan Cameron, then AG, immediately said, nope. And then when he was running for governor, he said, yeah, no, we should probably do some exemptions, right? Because that was when Hadley and Andy worked together to make abortion prominent in that election. And then he, of course, immediately backpedaled and said, oh, well, we would include some exemptions if the courts told us we had to, right? So, and now the courts are like nowhere. Like, we talked about this last week, right, with Representative Lindsey Burke. The court is not acting on abortion, despite what the voters clearly said. So, it's like the public wants it, but the political powers that be definitely do not. And the GOP is more than happy to, like, put that fake kind of distance between them and Kentucky right to life, while still doing absolutely nothing to expand abortion healthcare in Kentucky, right? So I don't know. I thought that was an interesting story. I don't think it's going to lead to more interesting policy. I think it's politics. It's not policy. I don't know, Nate, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's also emblematic of what's going on across the country. For years and years and years, the party line, literally, from Republicans has been that they wanted to legalize abortion. They wanted to make it so that women couldn't have abortions anymore. And now nationally and in Kentucky, certainly they're the dog that caught the car and doesn't know what to do with it. Now what? And it turns out that the car can back up and run you over once you've gotten what you want. So I think that, like you were saying, that explains sort of Daniel Cameron's quick about face, sort of, even though he can't do anything without being weaselly, apparently. And that explains why all these great, Republicans in the assembly, who normally would be sort of beating their chests about how pro-life they are sort of like, telling their secretaries not to take Kentucky Right to Life's calls, because it's what? I don't know this person. Who is this person? So
yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not taking tomorrow's calls either, though, right? So they're going to just do nothing on the issue.
But that's consistent. That's consistent.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, we should get into the next big issues. I think we wanted to cover some kind of.
I didn't get to speak.
Oh, well, you did do this. You told us about the story, but go ahead. Yeah,
I know. I just want to say that I'm very, very proud of our state and the progressive way that we're going forward. And I do believe very, very soon this state will be purple.
Amen.
That's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Aaron.
Your mouth to God's ear.
Yeah, exactly. From your lips to the county commissioners, accountant offices. So we got some work to do on that front, which spoiler, or a teaser for later, perhaps. So yeah, another big issue, very clearly on the ballot, coming at you very soon, is the Amendment 2, right? So Nate, I think you've got you're going to open the story up for us.
Yeah. So I just want to recommend a really great op-ed that was published just yesterday in the Lexington Herald Leader. Yesterday, if you're listening to this in the future, is October 15th. And written by Tom Shelton, who used to be the superintendent of Davis County Public Schools, and then he was superintendent of Fayette County Public Schools. So a lot of experience in public education. His essay is called Amendment 2 Advocates Can't Win on Facts. So now they're making things up. And Shelton very clearly goes through some of the various lies. There's no other appropriate word for it. Lies that the people bankrolling this communications effort in support of Amendment 2 are using to try to trick Kentucky voters into supporting it. For example, Amendment 2 will not lead to a significant amount of our tax dollars going to vouchers for private schools. Wrong. Shelton points to the states that the pro-Amendment 2 marketers say are the models for Kentucky, which are Florida and Arizona. Well, Arizona is now spending $1.1 billion a year, and Florida is spending $4 billion a year on vouchers. And folks, this is above and beyond those states' public school budgets, right? So this is extra money that they got to get from somewhere. Of course, in a rational world, they would be raising taxes at minimum, but that ain't happening. They're going to look to cut services. And did those states' legislatures estimate that the vouchers would be that expensive? Heck no, because they probably didn't predict that most of the families using this voucher money, that's 70% of them, would be already sending their kids to private school. And now their state governments are raining money down from the sky on them. So this is part of the big lie about Amendment 2. It's a big giveaway to mostly wealthy families who are all too happy to take free money for their private schools for their kids. Are already going to. And there's a lot more to the essay, but we're running out of time. I'll just say, please read it, share it, and above all, vote no on Amendment 2. Back to you, Kimberly and Aaron.
Nice. Yeah, that I was I've been flabbergasted about the just the communications from the pro Amendment 2 people, like so many lies, like just bald-faced, blatant lies. If folks missed it, we had Josh going on 2 weeks ago. He wrote the book The Privateers, How Billionaires Started a Class War and Sold School Vouchers. He's an actual academic education professor and researcher, and wrote, did the math on all these programs and found that they do not help educational outcomes for the kids who take advantage of the voucher programs, who are not already in the private schools, right? Which is, as Nate just mentioned, 70%, upwards of 70% of the people who use the voucher programs are already in private schools, right? But the folks who try to make that transition don't actually get better educational outcomes. And nowhere is there like more money going to public education, which is what these flyers are saying, which is just total and complete garbage. And in fact, these schools, they're seeing schools shuttered, public schools shuttered because of the education, the pupils that are moving, right? So even though they're not a huge number for enough schools, it's enough people that they just don't have the budget to operate. So big challenges, a lot of lies, but a lot of people are unified to fight these things, which is pretty awesome. We, if folks missed it, just earlier this week, they had Governor Scheer joining the American Federation of Teachers National President, Randy Weingarten. They were on the campaign trail this week against Amendment 2. And if you watch the media coverage, you saw our regular co-host and good troublemaking friend, Nima Brewer, there, as well as local AFT United 120 organizer, our friend Nima Brewer. And then we also had a friend of the show and Progress Kentucky endorsed candidate Rep. Sherilyn Stevenson there at that press conference. So yeah, definitely lots of folks coming out against Amendment 2. I hope you are doing the same, because it's a bad idea. We need to shut this thing down. All Amendment 2s are bad ideas, and we should stop them. We did it before, we can do it again. All right, so now really exciting. It is time to head to the campaign corner, or the candidate corner. We have got a couple of wonderful candidates we want to make sure you know about and hear from before that that election comes in just 20 days. But first off is Erika Hancock, who is running for the 57th district, which is Frankfort. Derrick Graham, longtime leader of the House, is retiring, and Erika won a fairly contested primary, I think, to get there and be the Democratic nominee. And from her mailer in the legislature, Erika will fight to protect our pensions and retirement benefits, lower costs for families, fully fund public education, end the no exemptions abortion ban, and bring much needed civility back to the General Assembly. Fantastic. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for running. And how is the campaign going, Erika?
It's going really well. I've learned a lot. I definitely don't want to have to do a whole year again, if at all possible, because I'm tired. But it's been going great. I've met a lot of really great people in the community that I really look forward to serving. There's, knocking on a bunch of doors, you realize how many people are purple in the middle, who really just want what's right for everybody, who really have their heart in the right place, and these extremes and divisiveness that have been plaguing us for the past several decades. Where politics have just become meaner, and often anger and cruelty passes leadership, and they talk at one another, not to one another. I think people are overwhelmingly, I'm finding out they're tired of it. So that gives me hope in doing what I'm doing. So it's going great. I'm really having a good time.
That's wonderful. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what's your bio? Kind of like what prompted you to want to get involved with this crazy game of politics and get to the General Assembly?
So when Derrick announced his retirement, Derrick's a good friend of our family's, and when he announced his retirement, people were kind of, it was quick. It was in December, and nobody really knew kind of who was gonna step up and do it. A lot of people, quite honestly, were just tired, beat up from the political game. I've been a State Farm agent in town for 23 years. I have 2 grown children. So it's a perfect time for me to transition from my supportive role in the community to a leadership one. I've served on boards like the United Way, the Sunshine Center, Site-Based Decision-Making Council for Bonnert Middle School, the finance committee at my church. So it just was a perfect time for me to step up and do it. That's kind of how I am as a person. I just kind of do things and then figure it out as it goes. And I did that, and I'm so glad I did. And I have zero regrets, and I look forward to getting up there and adding some civility back up there.
Awesome. That's great. Nate, do you have a question for Erika?
Yeah, and I guess just a moment of self-disclosure that I've been volunteering a little bit for Erika and delivering some lit here in Frankfort. So, I'm a little bit in the game as well. But, so you're running for the General Assembly at a time when, civility and actually just like basic decent humanity is in short supply. And I'm wondering about, when you look back to the way the GA has been in the past few years, and maybe even earlier, are there things that you can point to that have affected your life or the life of loved ones?
And thank you. Yes, I mean, of course, there are things that I've always been more supportive in politics, so I've never really paid a whole lot of attention other than kind of what's going on locally. I've been a mother for 20 years, so nothing really has affected me except for, Amendment 2 coming up, those types of things that I have children. Both my children have disabilities. They have both has dyslexia. These charter schools are not going to accept my children in their school when it comes down to test scores. They're not accepting kids, and they're using the excuse that they don't have the resources. So that definitely here most recently is affecting the education that we've decided. The school choice that we made to send our kids to public school over private school was basically that reason, because they don't have the resources, or they say they can't have the resources or don't. But, I think it's just a perfect time for me to get involved with the civility portion. It's just who I am as a person. I've never needed to put somebody else down to make myself look better. I think I like to challenge my own perspective and see it from all sides, the top, the bottom, the left, the right, underneath, and then just be comfortable with being uncomfortable and moving forward for what's the best for everybody. Being in insurance, I do that every single day with my customers. I had a woman walk in the other day and she was like, you treat everybody the same, somebody who lives on Section 8 housing versus somebody who lives in $1 million house. And that's just who I am as a person. And I feel like that's why it's the perfect time for me to get involved, because I do have the ability to challenge my own perspective, but to also challenge others in a respectful way that I think will be successful in the General Assembly.
That's great. Yeah. Sounds, common sense. Like you said earlier, people are purple, right? Our state isn't quite purple yet, but I'd like us to get there. But we here at Progress Kentucky are a little bit weird because we pay a lot of attention to politics. We pay a lot of attention to the General Assembly. We pay a lot of attention to elections. And I think, there's variety among our hosts and the folks who are, behind Progress Kentucky for sure. It's not like we're some ideologically, but, pretty left leaning. And, when I get out there and talk to people at the doors, people aren't like us. We really are uniquely, we're special in a certain way. And,
I think that's what we need to be able to be okay with. I mean, it's perfectly fine to be that way. And you're left leaning more because of the common sense, because we feel that, being a little bit nicer and maybe listening instead of lying. I mean, telling false truths, making things up just to win votes, picking certain bills that divide people instead of unify people. I mean, I think people are getting tired of it. At least that's what I feel. I mean, the people on both sides of the extremes will always seem louder, but what I'm seeing is people are just tired and they just want somebody to be good, kind, human, that's going to do what's right for people over themselves. And that's what I stand for.
Well, that sounds like a breath of fresh air for Frank. Kimberly, do you have a question or a comment for Erika? Kimberly, you were.
I don't know. I got this Wi-Fi from a certain cellular carrier, okay, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. So I want to say this. I saw reading a little bit about you, Miss Erika, and you want to bring the civility and the camaraderie back to the General Assembly, providing that it's been I mean, they're acting like they do over in Britain in the Parliament, okay? We're not used to all of that here in Kentucky, so to speak. So I am so very interested. You have a tender, kind heart, but I would like to know, how are you going to be the beacon of that particular movement?
It's just something who I am. I mean, I've always been that way. Life growing up was not always easy for me. My parents divorced when I was a young kid, and we lost both of my grandparents to gun violence when I was 7 years old. I had to find the good. I had to see the good in everything. And yeah, there's things that I won't be able to find the good, but I think if we focus on the majority of the good, and quit the blaming, quit the finger pointing, and just be like, guys, why are you so angry, and not buying into it. I think what happens is when you get so angry and you can't step out of it with your own glasses, you're never going to get anything done, because you let them win when they get you to that point. I don't usually get to that point very easy unless it comes to my children. Then I get I'm a little bit quick tempered. But I look at it more out of curiosity and not judgment, like a Ted Lasso saying, like, be curious, not judgmental. We've got to quit saying people are idiots for thinking a certain way. We need to say, okay, tell me, like, talk up to me about that, and get back to just good old conversation instead of placing blame, pointing fingers, and dividing people so you can get reelected. I've got nothing to lose in it, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm okay to call things out. I'm okay to stand for what I believe in, but I'm also going to do it in a respectful way. And I think that that's how I'll do it. I look forward to seeing it. I mean, my Uncle Hank was a state rep for years in town, and he passed away in February. He was in the General Assembly from the mid-'70s to the mid-'90s and was Speaker Pro Tem. And when I met with him, when I decided to run, he said, "Have you watched it? Do you watch it?" I go, "No." He goes, "Don't. It'll talk you out of it."
Oh, man.
And I was like, okay, I won't watch it. And, I have watched it, and it does get so disheartening that there are people out there that think that they can throw this negativity out there to intimidate people into not challenging their perspective. And that's just not me. I'm not going to be intimidated by people name calling and finger blaming. I'm going to challenge their perspective, because that's what good debate is. That's what good policy is. And that's what makes Kentucky and Frankfort and Franklin County better.
That's fantastic. Well, it sounds like a wonderful approach. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Good luck getting there as well. That's not a fait accompli, right? So you've got an opponent, and you are working hard. You got Nate, knocking on some doors for you as well, which is awesome. And then, what can other people do to support the campaign or the candidacy?
Well, one thing quickly I want to say is I hope this inspires other people to do it. I think for far too long, people are like, well, I wouldn't want to do that. It's to this or it's to that. There are so many good people in there. We just need to capitalize on the people that are good in there. But the way people can help is just, if you want to get online and donate, it's Erika, ERIKA, 4KY.com. I would love door knockers. I feel really good about my race. So, I have a hard time taking away from anybody else's help at this point, but you never know. So if you want to help, you want to volunteer, knock on doors, tell your friends about me, have them call me. I'll listen. I will do everything in my power to help. And I look forward to getting up there and being part of the solution.
Excellent. And, money always as well, it's always the right size, always the perfect gift, and can help you with the ads you need to run, just the printing you need to have done, for sure. It's not a cheap thing to do, to run for office, the State House, and but good luck, and we really appreciate you throwing your hat in the ring and the approach you're bringing to it. Any other final thoughts or questions from my co-host?
I would love to keep in contact with you all. I think all what you do is great. And if you ever want to get me back on to do some things, I will support you all in any way I can.
Oh, absolutely. We will follow up once you're there. And as Kimberly likes to say, speak it into reality and envision it, and it will be so. And then we'll bug you for your insider perspective on the legislature.
Aaron, I don't manifest and stick stuff out there that I don't want to happen. So I look forward to getting to know you all better.
Right on.
Excellent. All right. So now we're going to move on to our second candidate of the night. Tech willing. We got with us Dr. Almaria Baker, who is running in the Louisville area. Our friend Kimberly was aghast at how many non-Louisville candidates we were having in the candidate corner. And so she went out and fixed that for us and brought in Dr. Almaria Baker, who is running for the 28th district. How are you doing this evening?
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. We want to hear about you and kind of what you bring to this campaign and why you want to, bring that perspective to Frankfort.
Okay. Yes, my name is Dr. Almaria Baker. I am a mom. I'm a teacher. I am for public education. I'm for working families. I am for women's reproductive health. I am actually from Cadiz, Kentucky. I'm not sure if anybody's ever heard of it.
Sounds made up. Sounds made up.
It sounds made up.
No, what is it?
Yeah, I'm from Cadiz, Kentucky, a very small town here in Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky. And I come from a large family. There were 11 of us. My parents were school teachers. So, we weren't rich. We weren't rich. And so again, I'm for working families. I'm for the union. What else?
That's
just
a lot.
A clean and healthy environment.
Fantastic. And so sounds like you are, if I had to guess, against Amendment 2 that we're confronted with on the ballot right now, and maybe the past Amendment 2 as well. But yeah, it sounds like, public education and reproductive health care are things that are important to you. Well, then why are you going to Frankfort? Because those people do not seem to care at all about either of those issues.
Well, and I hope that even though the Republicans are the supermajority, I hope that with my presence in Frankfort, I'm able to align my thoughts and my beliefs with the Republicans. There may be some things we won't be able to agree upon, but at least we need to be able to get along. I don't think I told you this part. You were asking why I was running. I'm actually running because I am not happy with our current, I was going to say Republican, which he is a Republican, but I'm not happy with the current representative. He doesn't represent our values in District 28, and he's just falling short. He's falling short in what he should be doing in Frankfort.
Absolutely. And this is Jared Bauman, is that right? Who is the current sitting rep?
Yes. He's only been in there one term.
Gotcha.
So.
But you're unimpressed with his first work.
Yeah, I'm very unimpressed. My key issues, and I guess maybe I need to wait for you all to ask me.
Go. No, let's hear it.
Okay. My key issues, I have actually 3, but I have a problem with the PRP shooting. He created and drafted that bill about Safer Kentucky. Apparently, we're not safe in District 28 because of what happened at PRP, the football stadium. There was a shooting, and as a result, a youth passed away or died from his injuries. So we talk about that crime bill, but it doesn't say anything about gangs. And I think that was the root cause of the shooting in PRP. I feel as though what needs to be done, and he hasn't done it, but we need to allot more pay for more policemen on the streets. And then I'm going to also say, not only policemen, but, be well versed in the gang situation, because the gang situation is here and the gang situation is real. He doesn't address that, or he hasn't addressed it. Let me say that. He hasn't addressed the gun situation. I mean, the gang situation. And from that, we can talk about the guns, sensible gun laws. But I was just really upset because he never mentioned the tragedy at PRP. And I'm going to say this. We were interviewed a couple of weeks ago. And, if you can go back and look at the interview, I talked about it. Or I mentioned it. Let me say that. I mentioned it. And with him sponsoring House Bill 5, Safer Kentucky, I would have thought you would have mentioned it, at least mentioned it. But anyway, going back to, just my issues with the PRP thing, we need to have sensible gun laws, enhance the red flag law. And that talks about, people, before guns get in your hands, just finding out what type of people are trying to get these guns. But it's a whole lot. And I know, it won't be solved overnight, but, keeping the guns locked and safe for our kids. You know what? I'm not gonna say no more. You asked me the questions. I'm just
and I'll turn to my co-host now. But I do think sensible gun laws is something a lot of candidates are really seeking. And I think we need to flip a lot of seats if we're going to get that, because it has been shut down corner in the legislature. Those committees will not move those bills forward, even if you've got the even if you have bipartisan support. Wendy Westerfield, Senator Westerfield was like a co-sponsor of they didn't want to call it a red flag bill, but a red flag bill. And he wanted, they would not even assign the bill to his committee so he could vote on it to move it forward. Right. So, there's a lot of power there that right now needs to be pulled apart if we're going to get some sensible stuff moving forward. Seats like this, the 28th, one of the eminently most flippable seats in our Commonwealth. It is one that the governor won by a very solid margin for his reelection effort. And so we wish you all the best for sure in your campaign. And we'd love to I'm going to turn to my co-host now that can actually ask you a question. But we'll start with Kimberly, who made sure you're able to join us and get rid of our Lexington centric view of the races and the candidates we were talking to. Kimberly, what do you have?
Hey, Dr. Baker, good to see you tonight.
Nice to see you.
Well, I know you can't see me, but you see that sorority, don't you?
Yeah.
Dr. Baker is a Delta, but we're all part of the Divine Nine, so we're together.
Exactly.
You and I were both on the executive committee of the Louisville Jefferson County Democratic Party, and we do a lot for the community. We do a lot for Democrats. Let me ask you this question right here. When you go, now notice what I'm saying. When you go to Frankfort, okay, on day one, what is going to be the thing that you're going to do? You're going to already have some stuff together that you're going to want to do. But as soon as you step into that office, what is the first thing you're going to do? And don't say, I'm going to learn where the restrooms are and things like that. No. What are you going to do? Day one.
Well, of course, I'm going to talk about or reflect upon my key issues. And, the one I just said about PRP. But I also want to, I don't know if the word is dismantle House Bill 5. but I definitely want to do something with that. Now, House Bill 5, my opponent, he sponsored that, and then they passed it. But if you look at House Bill 5, it's got so many different things within that bill. It should just be a bill on its own, but it's got so many things in there. But usually when I'm knocking on doors, I'm talking to constituents about the unhoused, the homeless. So that's a problem to me in this Safer Kentucky Act or bill. That's a problem to me. So I want to kind of pick apart, or I don't want to exactly say dismantle, but that House Bill 5 is not good. It's not good for our community. It's not good for Kentucky. I'm just not a fan of it. Because in my other interview, I was saying we kind of got to get to the root cause of why these people are unhoused. And it's almost like there's no compassion. They don't care. Nobody cares. And I feel as though if I go to Frankfort, I care, and there needs to be resources put out for the unhoused. They may be dealing with mental problems. People probably just can't find a job. Just whatever the issue is, it needs to be addressed, and it needs to. We need funding for that. And that's something else. As far as I can understand, my opponent hasn't done anything when it comes to setting aside money for the homeless or the houseless.
Mm-hmm.
Or home, what am I trying to say? The unhoused.
There you go.
So that would probably be my day one is picking apart that House Bill 5, picking it apart.
Yeah, as they called it, the Suffer Kentucky Act. Definitely not.
Yes.
A lot of cruelty and not a lot of compassion, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Nate, do you have a question for Dr. Baker?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Dr. Baker, what an honor to have you on the show. We're just delighted. So I'm a pretty new Kentuckian. I've only been here, my spouse and I have only been here 6 years. So we're sort of still learning the ropes. But one thing I've seen in this past 6 years is how much animosity there seems to be from around the state reps in the GA toward Louisville. And, I'm not going to ask about why is that? I mean, I can figure out probably, but what I'm wondering is there anything that a Louisville representative can do to help sort of, I don't know, change hearts and minds in there, or do you know what I mean? Like, it seems like it's an ongoing assault.
Yeah. It's almost like for some reason they have a problem with Louisville. For some reason, they want to, get rid of JCPS or break JCPS up. And that's why I work. I'm an employee of JCPS. I don't really know the answer to that. I really don't. And I hate that they're so hard on Louisville. They're so hard on Louisville. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. All I do know is, of course, I'm going to be voting on things that will serve the interest of Louisvillians, and especially, District 28, which is comprised of Valley Station, the PRP areas.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that district. As I mentioned before, it's ranked as one of the most flippable districts because it did vote very strongly for Andy Beshear for his reelection campaign. What have you been, as you've been out there campaigning and canvassing? I'm assuming, what have you learned about that district? Obviously, you've been there for quite a while. I'm sure you know it before you started the campaign, but tell us a little bit about it.
It's a wonderful district. It's a wonderful district. I've actually been out here almost 5 years. We have, Councilwoman Cindy Fowler. I mean, she's opened up a lot of things out here. I just think District 28 is wonderful. we start at kind of like the Mid-Dixie Highway, if you're familiar with it. Mid-Dixie Highway, and then you come all the way out almost to Fort Knox.
Okay.
But we have lots of shopping here, lots of restaurants here. You know, I can't really say that we probably need to bring, you know, restaurants and all that to District 28, but, you know, maybe something like a movie theater. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to have a movie theater, or even like a little skating rink. Well, we actually have one down the street, but I'm not sure if the young people even access it or not. But this is a wonderful, wonderful district with wonderful people.
There's that map one more time. So
Oh.
yeah, you got some riverfront there. You got some river frontage. That's always good. You always want to, you know, access to some ports or whatnot. Yeah, it seems like a great spot for sure. And you know, I guess one question that I'll tee up, and then I'll see if my co-hosts have anything else they'd want to add. But how can people help your campaign? You know, what are you looking for right now? You know, how is the campaign going, and what do you need more of?
The campaign's going really, really good. I have wonderful volunteers. They're called the Valley Girls, and I just love Valley Girls because of Valley Station.
Yeah.
But they knock doors for me. They're even at events when I'm not able to make an event. They are there. Gathering information and things for me. But just the door knocking, we've kind of, let me take that back. We've kind of stopped the door knocking other than myself. I'm knocking doors. But my volunteers, they are lit dropping. They're dropping off my lit. So of course, you know, we need volunteers to drop off lit. We always welcome, you know, a donation. So my website is bakerforhouse28.com, BAKERFORHOUSE 28.
Awesome. And we've got that on the screen too, and we'll put that in the show notes, and it's in the comments so people can click on that easily and support your candidacy for sure. As I said, really important, you know, seat that, you know, obviously somebody with your educational background, somebody with your passion for, you know, actually root cause problem solving as opposed to just, you know, locking folks up. Really, I think a valuable approach to bring to Frankfort. Kimberly, any final thoughts from you?
Yes. I want to go back to what Dr. Baker was talking about, as far as why is it that the Republicans are always messing with Jefferson County, which is comprised also of Louisville. It is the largest county in the entire state of 120 counties. And this has been going on since I was a little girl. And that was just 5 years ago, you know. And so if they can penetrate Jefferson County, get their people in. That's why a lot of them are running for council now, a lot of the Republicans that were in the House, because if they can get Louisville, they will have basically Lexington is going to fall in line, and they'll basically have the entire state. So ever since I was a little girl, no, I'll be 57 next month on the 18th of November. If anybody would like to know, hint, hint. But ever since I was a little girl, 9, 10 years old on up, they have just always done this. They really, really want Jefferson County. They want Louisville.
Yeah, I don't really know the answer to that, but it's sad. It's sad that they, you know, they're just trying to. I don't know. I don't know.
They've been doing the same thing. It's because, Dr. Baker, they want Louisville. If they can get a Republican mayor, get most of the city council as Republicans, get most of the state reps in our districts, Republicans, they will virtually have the entire state.
Right.
And they've been doing that for the last 40 years, 45 years. They've been doing the same thing. So that's the reason why. And that's why we have to fight tooth and nail all
Yeah.
over this state to keep Democrats in office and get more Democrats elected. And it's not really a
Exactly.
party thing all the time, but for what we do, the Democrats usually fall in line to the philosophies that we have.
Yes.
Well, it's a party that actually cares about, lifting people up and giving people a fair shot, and not just, going with what the rich folks want. And so I think, you guys have been well served in Louisville, and it's, always a challenge to fight as part of a super majority or super minority. So Dr. Baker, eyes wide open, what you're seeking to get yourself into. I don't think it's going to be easy there, but obviously you've faced a lot of challenges in your life, and you've gotten very far in it. So thank you so much for throwing your hat in the ring. Nate, any final question or comment for Dr. Baker?
I look forward to meeting you in person here in Frankfort come January.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and best of luck with the final 20 days. And as Kimberly said, we look forward to seeing you as a lawmaker in Frankfort. And thanks again for your time.
Okay, thank you all.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to move on to our call to action, which I don't know who. I guess I'll do it. And then I'll hand it to Kimberly to close out, right? So appreciate both those candidates joining us, Dr. Almaria Baker and Erika Hancock. Really wonderful to hear about their campaigns and what's driving them to seek that office in Frankfort. And we look forward to seeing them both there after the counting's over in 21 days or so. So with 20 days to go, we really do need you. This is our call to action, folks. We need you to get active. We are fighting against Amendment 2 and 4 more folks in Frankfort stand against Kentucky's outrageous abortion restrictions and fight for reproductive justice in the General Assembly. Folks specifically like Adam Moore, who we've endorsed. We're fighting to keep Sherilyn Stevenson, who we've endorsed. Please make time to join our campaign and to win these critical down ballot races to make Kentucky a bit better, a bit kinder, and a bit less in the pocket of right-wing billionaires and their anti-public education agenda. So we're going to be canvassing and getting folks informed and ready to vote every weekend between now and November 5th. It's not that many weekends, people. Please do sign up. We've got a Google form here. We'll put in the chat. Put that link in there directly so you can click on it. Help us build power for the long-term political shift our state desperately needs. Remember, folks, Georgia was not Georgia until it became Georgia. Through a ton of grassroots power building in key constituencies. It didn't just happen because they had a couple of great candidates with Reverend Warnock and Ossoff, but it's the work we need to do is to build grassroots power over time, right? Similar to the efforts we've got underway right now with our Kentucky Future Project. We are proud members of the Kentucky Future Project initiative, but we need you to make it happen. It's not going to take place over one election. This year, we'll be lucky to pick off 4 or 5 races and reduce the GOP supermajority a bit. We're going to need to keep going and keep doing the work of connecting the horrible policies we all oppose to the horrible politicians who are passing and protecting those bills. So doing the work of Kentucky Right to Life and the NRA, whether it's politically expedient for them to be endorsed by Right to Life or the NRA right now, because those policies are so unpopular, right? We've got to help people connect the dots and hold them accountable. So please sign up now. Help us get the word out and build some long-term power while we beat Amendment 2. And that's my final plea to help us out. Come out and put your feet on the concrete with us and make change in those 2 key legislative districts in the Lexington area. Kimberly, you want to close us out?
Yes, I sure can. I just got a text from Dr. Baker, and she had a wonderful, wonderful time right now. I was trying to show you something that came in, and can you see it? I'm just going to hold it here.
I see it.
Can you see it? Can you?
Our next president.
Can you see it, Nate? It's got all
It's
that
out of the
bling,
frame.
bling
It's out of the
around
frame
there.
now, but I just saw it a moment ago.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have some kind of contest so somebody can get one of those. It's going to be a collector's item for real, for real. So I'll be talking to
Right
you all
on.
after the show, and maybe some lucky person can have it.
Ooh.
So the disclaimer first, and before I do that, thank you so much to Dr. Almaria Baker, and also thank you so very much to our other guest, Erika Hancock. I think these are Democrats that are going to do it and be in Frankfort, and you will have such a good time, Nate, with them there. So, Progress Kentucky is a nonprofit organization registered with the Kentucky Secretary of State and organized as a 501c4. We are affiliated with the Indivisible Project, the Commonwealth Alliance for Voter Engagement, otherwise known as CAVE, and we are also proud members of the Forward Kentucky Network. Okay, and on here, it's not letting me do it. Here, there we go. There we go. A lot of technical issues tonight. So, Progress Kentucky's goal is to educate, organize, increase voter turnout, and advance a progressive agenda through civic engagement. Next week's show, we're very excited to be joined by the Lexington president of the NAACP, Whit Whitaker, to discuss the historic organization's civil rights work in Kentucky and how they are viewing November the 5th. We'll also have another candidate joining us in the campaign corner. Pretty sure about that. So, production of episode 182, isn't that amazing? 182 was done by Mr. Parker Williams himself. Thank you so much, Parker. Nate Orshan, the co-host for tonight, whoop whoop, wrote and performs our theme song. You can find more information and music. Everybody say it with me, at NATO Songs. That's NATO Songs. And if you miss our weekly live stream on Facebook or YouTube, audio podcast and our show notes are always available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. If you do listen to the pod, and I know you do, please leave us a 5-star review. You know what we're talking about wherever you are listening. Okay, some logo and graphic content was provided by Couchfire Media. So you've made it halfway through the week. We had a great show tonight. Aaron didn't even get on my nerves. It is a great night. And I hope to see you all here next Wednesday, same channel, same time. And ask somebody to vote. Make sure they have a way to get to the polls. It's too important not to do your part. And also, we have our Act Blue accounts up as well. We always need donations to help us to continue doing what we're doing. So I love all of you all, and we'll see you next week.